Shattered Dreams. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a warm golden glow over the quaint suburban neighborhood. Birds sang their morning melodies, and the air was crisp and invigorating. It was the perfect time for a morning jog. Melanie, a young mother in her early 30s, laced up her running shoes and secured her 6-month-old baby, Abigail, into the jogging stroller. As she stepped out of the house, she blew a kiss to her husband, Jake, who was busy preparing breakfast in the kitchen. He smiled back at her and waved goodbye, knowing that these morning jogs were an essential part of Melanie's routine. As Melanie jogged along the tree-lined streets, she felt a sense of peace and contentment. The rhythmic sound of her footsteps and the gentle motion of the stroller lulled Abigail into a peaceful slumber. Melanie cherished these moments, where it was just her baby, and the open road. A few blocks away, a young teenager named Tyler was running late for school. His phone buzzed incessantly with texts from his friends, and he couldn't resist the temptation to respond as he drove. His eyes darted between the road and his phone screen, completely oblivious to the potential danger he posed. As Melanie rounded a corner, she noticed the approaching car, but assumed the driver would slow down. She continued jogging, not realizing that Tyler's attention was focused on his phone instead of the road. In a split second, the unthinkable happened. Tyler's car veered off the road, striking Melanie and the jogging stroller with a sickening crash. The force of the impact launched Melanie and Abigail into the air, their fates uncertain. The sound of sirens filled the air as emergency medical services, EMS, arrived at the scene. Paramedics quickly assessed the situation, realizing that both Melanie and Abigail required immediate medical attention. 2 air medical helicopters were dispatched, one for each patient. In order to avoid overloading one trauma center with 2 patients, Melanie and Abigail would be flown to separate places. The scene was illuminated by the sun as the first helicopter landed. The flight team was summoned to transport Melanie to the nearest hospital following the car accident caused by a texting driver. As they carefully loaded Melanie into the helicopter, the flight nurses discussed how tragic this accident was and hoped that she would be okay. They all were experienced professionals, yet their hearts still ached for Melanie's family, waiting at home for news of their loved one's condition. Once everyone was on board and ready to go, they took off toward their destination. As they flew through the blue sky, they looked down below at all of the hustle and bustle of life going on without them, knowing what had happened just moments before with Melanie. A solemn silence filled up inside of them as thoughts raced through each flight nurse's mind about how something like this could have happened so quickly to someone who simply wanted nothing more than to spend time with their family during such a beautiful morning. It seemed like no time passed until finally reaching their destination. It felt like an eternity for those on board, but it gave them peace knowing that soon enough Melanie would get proper medical treatment, where maybe even miracles could happen if there was any hope left in this situation. After landing, they rushed out of the helicopter with urgency, transferring Melanie into an ambulance and then on to the nearby trauma center. The second helicopter, carrying Nurse Emma, Nurse Will, and their precious cargo, 6-month-old Abigail, took off toward the trauma center. The entire flight there was filled with tension, as every minute felt like an eternity for Emma and Will. All that mattered now was getting baby Abigail safely to the hospital so she could be given medical attention. In between bouts of anxiousness, both nurses marveled at how beautiful it looked from up above. Seeing everything from such great heights made them realize just how small their problems were in comparison to those of the world around them. When they finally arrived at the trauma center, though it felt like hours, it had only been 15 minutes. The two nurses swiftly exited the aircraft with baby Abigail. They moved with urgency and precision into the emergency department, promptly handing over their patient. While doing so, they provided a thorough briefing on all events leading up to her arrival, ensuring seamless communication and immediate care without any delays or misunderstandings. After watching helplessly as doctors pulled the curtains closed in the room for further examination of baby Abigail, nurses Emma and Will shared a look, one full of sadness, yet also hope that this tiny life would make it through despite all odds being stacked against her. It was then that they realized just how much this experience meant not only for Abigail, but also themselves. It wasn't about heroism or bravery, but simply doing what you can do to help, no matter who or where you are. At the trauma center, doctors and nurses sprang into action, desperately trying to save Melanie's life. They worked tirelessly, employing every available resource and technique. Despite their relentless efforts, her traumatic injuries were too severe. Melanie passed away, surrounded by a dedicated team of medical professionals who had fought valiantly to keep her alive. Their faces reflected the sorrow of losing a patient they had strived so hard to save. Meanwhile, at the other trauma center, baby Abigail was in critical condition, but showing promising signs of improvement. The dedicated medical team worked tirelessly, providing round-the-clock care to ensure her survival. They closely monitored her progress, adjusting treatments as needed and celebrating each small victory. Their unwavering commitment and attention to detail gave hope that Abigail would continue to recover. When Jake received the devastating news about Melanie's death, his world came crashing down. The love of his life, his partner, and the mother of his child was gone. As he grappled with his grief, he knew he needed to stay strong for Abigail, who was still fighting for her life. Days turned into weeks, and Abigail slowly began to recover. The medical team marveled at her resilience, and it wasn't long before she was discharged from the hospital. As Jake carried his baby girl out of the hospital and into their new reality, he vowed to honor Melanie's memory by being the best father he could be. Over the years, Jake poured his heart and soul into raising Abigail. He taught her about the importance of kindness, compassion, and perseverance, values that Melanie had held dear. As Abigail grew older, he shared stories of her mother's life, ensuring that she would always know how much Melanie loved her. Through the heartache and pain, Jake found solace in his role as a single father. He watched with pride as Abigail blossomed into a strong, intelligent, and compassionate young woman, a testament to the love and dedication he had poured into her upbringing. On the day Abigail graduated from high school, Jake stood in the audience with tears in his eyes. As she walked across the stage to accept her diploma, he knew that Melanie would be proud of the person their daughter had become. Take-home points. Texting and driving. Texting and driving is a dangerous and potentially life-threatening behavior that should be avoided at all costs. There are several reasons why it is essential not to text while driving. Distracted driving. Texting diverts a driver's attention from the primary task of driving, as it requires visual, manual, and cognitive focus. This distraction increases the risk of accidents, putting the driver, passengers, and other road users in danger. Slower reaction time. When drivers are engaged in texting, the reaction times are significantly slower. They may not be able to react quickly enough to avoid collisions or respond to sudden changes in traffic conditions, such as a car stopping abruptly in front of them. Impaired judgment. Texting while driving can impair a driver's ability to make sound decisions, as their focus is divided between the conversation and the road. This can lead to poor judgment calls, such as failing to yield the right-of-way or misjudging the speed of other vehicles. Increased crash risk. Studies have shown that texting while driving increases the risk of a crash by 23 times compared to undistracted driving. This risk is even higher for inexperienced drivers such as teenagers. Legal consequences. Many countries and states have enacted laws prohibiting texting while driving, with penalties ranging from fines to license suspension or even jail time. Engaging in this behavior could result in legal repercussions and increased insurance premiums. Social responsibility. As members of society, we have a responsibility to keep ourselves and others safe. By choosing not to text and drive, we demonstrate our commitment to maintaining a safe environment on the road for everyone. Instead of texting while driving, consider alternative solutions to stay connected. Use a hands-free device or a voice-activated technology to send and receive messages. Pull over to a safe location before reading or responding to messages. Inform friends and family that you will not be available to text while driving, and encourage them to do the same. By understanding the dangers of texting and driving and adopting safer practices, we can work together to reduce the number of accidents and fatalities caused by this risky behavior. Jogging with a stroller on the side of the road can be a dangerous activity for both the parent and the child. There are several reasons why this is not an ideal way to exercise, as well as safer alternatives to consider. First, the proximity to traffic puts both the jogger and the child at risk. Cars may not always keep a safe distance from the side of the road, and there is the potential for accidents to occur, such as distracted drivers, texting, and driving. Additionally, poor visibility due to weather conditions or blind spots might make it difficult for drivers to see the jogger and stroller. Second, uneven terrain and roadside debris can be hazardous. Potholes, cracks, and loose gravel can cause the stroller to become unstable, increasing the risk of accidents. Furthermore, broken glass, nails, or other sharp objects might puncture the stroller's tires or cause injuries to the jogger. To ensure a safer jogging experience with a stroller, consider the following alternatives. Choose dedicated paths. Choose jogging routes specifically designed for pedestrians, such as parks, trails, and sidewalks. These areas usually have smoother surfaces and are separated from traffic, reducing the risk of accidents. Use a jogging stroller. Invest in a stroller specifically designed for jogging, which typically features larger, air-filled tires and better suspension to handle uneven terrain. These strollers also have a handbrake for added control and safety. Be visible. Wear brightly colored clothing and use reflective gear on both you and the stroller. This makes it easier for drivers to spot you, especially during early morning or evening jogs when visibility is low. Run against traffic. If you must jog on the side of the road, face oncoming traffic so you can see approaching vehicles and react accordingly. Stay alert. Avoid using headphones while jogging, as they can distract you from your surroundings. Instead, stay aware of the environment and potential hazards. By taking these precautions and choosing safer alternatives, parents can still enjoy jogging with their child while minimizing the risks associated with running on the side of the road.
If you are moved by this story and want to hear more incredible rescues and discover powerful insights on how to prevent childhood accidents, you can find Lessons from the Sky, Life Flight Rescues, and the Fight for Child Safety on Amazon and most online bookstores in either audio or book format. Every story in Lessons from the Sky holds a valuable lesson. Some are filled with hope and happy endings, while others serve as heartbreaking reminders of why child safety is so important. Lessons from the Sky is the perfect gift for new and expecting parents, or anyone who wants to stay ahead of potential safety hazards. Emotional engagement drives action. Let these stories touch your heart and inspire you to protect the children in your life.